Today is May 10th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today out of the Big Book, we're on Chapter 8, 2 Whys. We'll read page 115. Out of the 12 and 12, since we read 2 pages yesterday, we are going to take a break and we will return to tradition number 3 tomorrow. But we will read the 24 hours a day and daily reflection. So with that, hope you all are doing well this beautiful Sunday morning, my friends. Life is good over here. Got a giant cup of coffee in my Baby Yoda mug here, or my Grogu mug. Super excited about the new Mandalorian movie coming out, by the way. Hopefully I can talk my wife into coming with me, but it might have to be a guy thing. She's not, well, you know what? I have to give my wife a lot of credit. She's kind of a Star Wars fan now. I don't know if I might have had a little influence in that, but but God bless her. Anyway, let's go ahead and get to the good stuff. All right, my friends. So if you recall from yesterday's reading, we were talking about how the wives are oftentimes so kind of embarrassed when their husbands go on these binges and how hard it is for the family itself. You know, in the last couple of days, we've been talking about how we could work with the alcoholic family member. And then, like I said yesterday, we talked about how hard this is for the spouse that doesn't drink and the family that is involved. So we're on page 115. We find that most of this embarrassment is unnecessary. While you need not discuss your husband at length, you can quietly let your friends know the nature of his illness. But you must be on guard not to embarrass or harm your husband. When you have carefully explained to such people that he is a sick person, you will have created a new atmosphere. Barriers which have sprung up between you and your friends will disappear with the growth of sympathetic understanding. You will no longer be self-conscious or feel that you must apologize as though your husband were a weak character. He may be anything but that. Your new courage, good nature, and lack of self-consciousness will do wonders for you socially. The same principle applies in dealing with children. Unless they actually need protection from their father, it is best not to take sides in any argument that he has with them while drinking. Use your energies to promote a better understanding all around. Then that terrible tension which grips the home of every problem drinker will be lessened. Frequently, you have felt obliged to tell your husband's employer and his friends that he was sick, when, as a matter of fact, he was tight. Avoid answering these inquiries as much as you can. Whenever possible, let your husband explain. Your desire to protect him should not cause you to lie to people when they have a right to know where he is and what he's doing. Discuss this with him when he is sober and in good spirits. Ask him what you should do if he places you in such a position again. But be careful not to be resentful about the last time he did so. 24 hours a day, May 10th. AA Thought for the Day. One thing that keeps me sober is a feeling of loyalty to other members of the group. I know I'd be letting them down if I ever took a drink. When I was drinking, I wasn't loyal to anybody. I should have been loyal to my family, but I wasn't. I let them down by my drinking. When I came into AA, I found a group of people who were not only helping each other to stay sober, but who were also loyal to each other by staying sober themselves. Am I loyal to my group? Meditation for the day. Calmness is constructive of good. Agitation is destructive of good. I should not rush into action. I should first be still and know that He is God. Then I should act only as God directs me through my conscience. Only trust, perfect trust in God, can keep me calm when all around me are agitated. Calmness is trust in action. I should seek all things that can help me to cultivate calmness. To attain material things, the world leans to attain speed. to attain spiritual things, I have to learn to attain a state of calm. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may learn how to have inner peace. I pray that I may be calm so that God can work through me. Daily Reflection, May 10th. Free at last. Another great dividend we may expect from confiding our defects to another human being is humility, a word often misunderstood. It amounts to a clear recognition of what and who we really are, followed by a sincere attempt to become what we could be. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 58. I knew deep inside that if I were ever to be joyous, happy, and free, I had to share my past life with some other individual. The joy and relief I experienced after doing so were beyond description. Almost immediately after taking the 5th step, I felt free from the bondage of self and the bondage of alcohol. That freedom remains after 36 years, a day at a time. I found that God could do for me what I couldn't do for myself. All right, my friends, that concludes today's reading. It's some beautiful stuff. My goodness. First of all, talking about calmness. I love in the big book, it's like on page 80 something, it's something like, we relax, we do not struggle. When we're going through indecision and things like that, just relax. You know, I heard this quote from Arnold Schwarzenegger one time, and he was talking about failure. And he was talking about how we all fail. Don't be afraid to fail. Because failure is feedback to help us to become better. And he talked about all the times that he failed. But he said finally, you know, he's like, what I learned is that when you're competing, relax. Sometimes we perform best when we're calm and we're not all tensed up. You know, and that's been the truth for me. When I'm all tensed up, you know, anytime I have an evaluation or something like that, and in the past, and I was all tensed up, I seem to do much, much worse. When I'm so worried about what other people think, when I'm so worried about protecting my image, I seem to be open for a lot more mistakes. But when I try to do the steps to the best of my ability, when I try today to live an honest life, by asking God to help direct my thinking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonest, or self-seeking motives, I can be okay if I make a mistake and go, oh, I messed that up. But guess what? I can ask for forgiveness, talk to someone if I need to real quick, make amends, whether they're direct or indirect, and get right back on it. Calmly. So I'm not afraid to fail anymore, because I know if I fail, something good can still come from it. And I have an action plan, thanks to the steps and what I can do to right my wrong. So I'm not as tensed up anymore. And I really don't have to worry about my image as much because, well, if I'm trying to live a life of integrity, then it's okay if you don't like me, because I like me. I can look the person in the mirror and be okay with who I see. You know, granted, I might see some gray hairs in my sideburns and beard, but you know, that's beside the point. But anyway, my friends, and then also talking about the daily reflection real quick. Freedom, right? I know I've shared this a million times, and I apologize, but I can't help it. When I did my first 5th step, the freedom I experienced. I remember the drive to, I was terrified. I once again probably worried about my image. Like, oh man, this person's never going to look at me the same way again. Then I go to the church. I tell them my story. Or I give them my inventory, and then I tell them everything that I could think of, right? Because I kept thinking half measures avail me nothing. I've got to tell them everything that I can think of that's bothering me. Everything that I've done. And he listened intently. He didn't interrupt. When I was finished, he thanked me. He pointed out some things in me that I didn't realize I was doing. So I got that different perspective. And he pointed out very clearly in a loving way that, hey, yeah, this was ego-driven. But he also said, hey, we all have an ego sometimes. And he talked about his situation. He gave me some strategies to help me to prevent these things from happening in the future, and some suggestions and who I could make amends to, and focus only on what I've done. We prayed together, and by the time I drove home, for the first time in my entire life, and I mean this because my fifth step, man, I went way back, the childhood and all kinds of stuff that I'd held inside for literal decades. On my drive home, I'll never forget the feeling I had. And honestly, it was probably the first, aside from maybe doing the step 3 prayer with my sponsor, or maybe in the first meeting I ever went to. But I think this was the most powerful feeling I ever had on my drive home. I still remember it. I remember everything about it. I remember looking at the sunset, and I remember thinking, I'm free. I don't have to carry this stuff anymore. I will never forget that experience. Now, that's before step 9, right? But I was already beginning, as I said, maybe even from the very first meeting, I was already beginning to see the fruit that comes from doing these steps. And as I always say, are the steps my higher power? No. But they helped me in a very, very practical way to have a closer relationship with my higher power than I ever knew possible. A relationship that can lead not to self-condemnation, but to freedom. Beautiful stuff. But my friends, that's all we have time for today. I hope you have a great one. Please know if you're sober, you are a miracle, and you're giving a great gift to those around you. And if you would ever want to share your story, your experience, strength, and hope, please reach out to bigbookdaily@gmail.com. I would love to share your story on the podcast. And if you're not sober, I hope you know that you're a miracle as well, that you have great worth and value, and that there's hope. There is freedom in sobriety. AA it's about so much more than just not drinking. Sobriety is about living a life of integrity and freedom and having that spiritual experience, which I guess, as I just mentioned, might have been the case for me after step 5. So I pray that you reach out and get the help that you need today, and you don't have to do it alone. We've got your back. But my friends, if, as always, I don't speak on behalf of AA, NA, Al-Anon, any other sect. I am not a professional narrator, obviously. I am just a joyful drunk, honored to be here this beautiful Sunday morning. And if we are given another set of 24 hours, my friends, I sincerely look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.